Tayana Robinson's mother, Tracy, was her best friend and meant the world to her. Tracy spent 30 years at UAB working in health information management, helping people in need. Tracy bravely battled multiple cancers, enduring numerous rounds of chemo, radiation, and surgery, but unfortunately lost her battle in April of 2024.
She was a fighter, and I know for a fact that my presence, it comes from her.
Robinson tells us she prepaid for the burial service and plot space at George Washington Carver Memorial Cemetery before her mother passed, then paid nearly $2,000 for her mother's headstone after she passed. She showed us the receipt. 2 years later, Robinson is still waiting to see the headstone.
I actually went to the cemetery in person and I paid, and of course the cemetery owner was sweet, nice. He was very receptive. He's just really making sure that he was helping us out at the time of us paying, but 2 years later, I still have yet to hear anything back from him.
Robinson was going back and forth with cemetery owner Cedric McMillan. She showed us the numerous calls and texts with him, but now she says he's not responding to her. So she filed this lawsuit earlier this year, hoping the cemetery will make things right. At the cemetery, Robinson's mom is buried next to her dad. There is a headstone on the grave, but it's not hers. It's Andrea Carlisle, who passed away in 2024. Patricia Carlisle is Andrea's mother. She has the same type of concerns as Robinson's lawsuit.
When he took us to the area where he was putting the headstone, I asked him, I said, this doesn't seem like the spot. I said, it seemed like it was closer toward the ditch.
Carlisle says she didn't feel like arguing with McMillan about it at the time because she was grieving the loss of her daughter. But since then, she hasn't been able to get a hold of him.
It's not a good feeling, that's for sure. It's frustrating and confusing. It's a lot of different mixed feelings.
What do you want to see happen here?
I want them to put my daughter's headstone where it's supposed to be, and to keep the cemetery up.
On the day we were going to interview these families at the cemetery, we were kicked off the property by this guy who identified himself as a maintenance worker. While we were on the side of the road, Raquel Black pulled over and told us she too is having issues getting a headstone for her 7-year-old son Jeremiah, who died in a house fire in 2023. She showed us the receipt where she paid nearly $2,000 for his headstone.
It doesn't seem fair that a parent should have to come out here and just see dirt.
Is it grief on top of grief that you're having to deal with?
Yeah, on top of stress, and and to be a business owner, that's very unprofessional. You don't answer the phone, you don't call back.
Multiple families, including Robinson, are suing the cemetery and McMillan in civil court over headstones not being placed, burial plot issues, and more. McMillan was recently ordered to pay more than $1 million in one case after a judge said in part, quote, defendants have not presented any evidence materially disputing the evidence presented by the plaintiff. Robinson is suing McMillan in a separate case. We were in court as she testified, telling the judge what she's been going through. McMillan was a no-show in court, so Robinson won by default.
The judge has also heard the case, and she was pretty confused as to why it's taking so long to get the correct headstone. And I'm just hoping that this is a big stepping stone to go ahead and getting something like this resolved and not have to happen in the future.
With families around, I called McMillan to try and get some answers.
So what happened to the money that these families gave you?
McMillan told me I didn't know what I was talking about and said I'm gossiping, even though families showed us their receipts. He hung up. We found there aren't many state regulations over cemeteries in Alabama.
Every step of the way of the funeral business, we have guidelines to tell us how to protect the consumer.
Funeral homes, however, are heavily regulated. Arlillian Bushelon is the manager of Bushelon Funeral Home in Birmingham.
The Alabama Board of Funeral Service yearly inspects our funeral homes. If I'm talking to a family about pricing, I need to present a general price list. A lot of different things we're regulated on, from the prices that we have on our caskets, treatment of the family when they come in, treatment of their loved ones when they come in. All of those things are written out for us to follow.
Bushelon says in Alabama there is currently no agency with authority to actively enforce regulations for cemeteries. She says that needs to change.
Each cemetery should make sure that the same same accountability that is at the funeral home is taken at the cemetery, so that we can ensure our families, our grieving families, that their loved ones are being taken care of.
The Alabama Board of Funeral Services tells me legislation to strengthen cemetery enforcement and regulations is potentially in the works.
Families are pushing for that as well, saying their loved one's final resting place needs to be treated with dignity and respect. I'm Josh Scant, WBRC 6 News on your side.